This is a historic moment.
Anything to do with Lech Wałęsa is historic, really. And this was a moment, it was after the strike in 1980, after the strike in the Lenin shipyard in Gdańsk. He'd already become the trade union leader. He was the leader of Solidarity. And he was about to go off to work. This was early in the morning. I'd arranged to have breakfast with him in his home in Gdańsk, and we were supposed to go off to see him in his new office, as a new trade union leader. So we just finished breakfast. He put on his coat. This was autumn in 1980. And suddenly his wife Danuta came up to him, and they just gave each other a kiss. And off we went.
So you didn't tell him to kiss her?
I don't create pictures. No. I was just lucky to catch it. I never knew who that lady was in the background with the tea and the sandwich. I always thought it was a nanny for the kids. There were lots of kids there. And only when Wałęsa, I gave this, Wałęsa got this picture as a souvenir. Maybe 30 years later or 40 years later even, Danuta said, "Listen, that's my mother." So this is his mother-in-law. Mm-hmm. But whenever I was there and this old lady was there, they never introduced her. She was just sitting at the table, minding the kids. But they never said who she was. And then only 40 years later, I found out that it's his mother-in-law. And she has this typical mother-in-law sort of look about her because she's holding a cup of tea, a sandwich. So she's probably saying, "Listen, Lech, before you leave, do you want a cup of tea?"
You think that's
and a sandwich?
Oh, it looks like she's eating the sandwich. Like,
well, maybe she's eating it, but for me,
it's... Grab something between the 7 kids, or how many children does it look?
I can't remember, because every time I went there was another one, so I could never count them.
So what did you have for breakfast?
Probably.
And who prepared it?
I think Danuta, of course, but probably scrambled eggs or something. I can't remember. But it was very easy to get in touch with Wałęsa, because he knew very well that the Western press was very good for him, not just for him, but for Solidarity. And the Western press was interested in him and in Solidarity. So there was no problem, especially as I was working for a big American news magazine, there was no problem just to call and say, "Can I come over and take some pictures? And we can go off to your new office," and so on. And I can't imagine him agreeing right now in his older age. But in those days, no problem at all.
But you still see him from time to time?
Only if I'm where he is, and I just say "Cześć, Lechu." Because I never call him president or anything. I would call him Lechu or Lech.
But he was a little dismissive of your career path.
Well, when I met him in Salt Lake City, when he was opening, one of the people who were opening this Winter Olympic Games, he came out to me and said, "Listen, Chris, you're not improving at all. I was an electrician, a strike leader, then a trade union leader, then the president of Poland, and all you do is take pictures. You're not. What's happening? That's all you can do." And he's quite right, of course. All I do is take pictures. But he was always, every time we met and there was a chance to say something, he would always say something which sort of knocked me into the ground, but with a sense of humor, of course. No, he was, but I have a fondness for him simply because I was one of the first people who met him, in the sense that I was one of the first people who got into the shipyard at the beginning, on the second day of the strike.
How did you get in?
Together with a British journalist.
But you just walked in?
No. This is the problem. I mean, we all remember that the strike, there was thousands of journalists from all over the world, but that was at the end. But on the second day of the strike, there was no journalists. Nobody knew there was a strike. And when we sort of came up to the gate, which was closed, and the shipyard workers, the striking workers behind the gate, and we said, "We're journalists, and can you let us in?" And they said, "What? Journalists? No way. No journalists. Foreign journalists? Good Lord, no, absolutely. A photographer? No, absolutely no chance." So we just had to turn away, and we couldn't do anything. But then I had an idea, and I said, "Listen, this... we can see something important is happening. So maybe if you're frightened of me as a photographer, please let the journalist in, and he can tell the world what's happening." So they eventually came back and said, "Okay, we'll let the journalist in, but you as a photographer, no way, no pictures." which wasn't not a good idea for a photographer. But then when he went in and disappeared, the journalist, I went up to them and said, listen, that journalist you just let in doesn't speak Polish, so maybe I can come in as a translator, as an interpreter, and see what's happening. And they went back somewhere. They came back and said, "Okay, you can come in, but no pictures, but you can come in and translate for your journalist."
But they let you take your cameras with you?
Yes, I had everything with me. And I promised not to take pictures. But when I saw what was happening, when we were in that big room where all the negotiations in later days would take place, and they sat me at a table, a long table on one side where there was this man with the moustache and his sort of the strike committee. On the other side of the table was the director of the shipyard. It was the negotiations were with the director, not the party yet, not the Communist Party. And I could see this man with the moustache. I had no idea who he was. I couldn't even remember his name, but I could see he was very good with negotiating with this director. I quickly realized that something was happening. What was happening in front of my eyes was historical. The strikes in a huge communist company or whatever were virtually non-existent. So anything like this was really world-shattering in a way. So I felt a complete idiot that I'd sort of promised not to take pictures, but I realized if I didn't take any pictures, I'd lose any credibility as a photographer.
Wait, I think we have those pictures somewhere.
Yes.
Where are they? And this is the second day of the strikes.
No, this is the final day of the strike. This is the last. He's holding the famous pen.
Oh yeah, that's a big pen.
Big ballpoint pen with the Our Lady of Jasna Góra in it, and that's what he signed. He signed the agreements with the government with that pen. This is the picture.
So these are the pictures that you weren't meant to take.
I wasn't meant to take that, so I was waiting, and this is the director on the back of the director. So I was making sure that the director didn't see me. So I quickly took out my camera and shot pictures without a flash. But you have to remember, in those days, working on film, color film especially, and color slide especially, these films were very, very delicate in terms of lighting and so on. And there's an awful mixture of lighting here. There's the fluorescent bulbs above, lights above us. There's daylight coming in from the other side. There wasn't much light at all, and the films in those days weren't very sensitive. So it's lucky I got this shot. But that is the first picture.
It looks very heated, like he's about to jump across the table and strangle.
There's a break here. I mean, Wałęsa had gone off. There was a coffee break or something. He might be somewhere here in the background, but he went off to talk to his mates and have a coffee or something, and that's when I grabbed the chance and snapped the picture.
So that was the first time you ever saw him?
Yes, and I still couldn't remember his name.
When did you find out and remember his name?
Well,
when did you get to know him? What was your first conversation?
When I got home and I listened to the radio, after a few days, I
realized
that was, of course.
And what was your first conversation with him?
Well, we just talked. I mean, he was always a bit suspicious of me because I have a German name, I have a British passport, or I had a British passport. I spoke Polish. I was born in England. So he wasn't quite sure where I stood. I mean, he wasn't quite sure who he was talking to. But Wałęsa was a nice guy, I must say. He was. You could tell that there was something magical in him, and that he was
very charismatic.
Very charismatic, absolutely. Yes, no. But this is the wonderful thing of photographing for a big news magazine. You're photographing history. History is.
Did you realize it at the time?
Well, I must have realized it, seeing as I managed to get the journalists into the shipyard, telling them that this is a very important event. But you don't realize this when you're shooting things or when it's martial law and you see the tanks. I mean, you're just doing it because you're frightened, you're cold, and you're hiding really. So you just need to get the pictures, and then you start worrying whether it's history or not. But yes, this is that's why my life was so interesting, because everywhere I turned, history was happening in front of my eyes, and that's the wonderful part of being a photojournalist.
You're very lucky.
If you're working for a big international news magazine.
Well, but that's how you started working for the big magazines, is because you were at the right place at the right time.
Yes.
The right eye.
Yeah, because there weren't any Western photographers based in behind the Iron Curtain, so I must have been one of the first. Yeah.
Very smart.
So I didn't really have to work hard. I didn't have to try hard to get into the big magazines.
It looks like Wałęsa trusted you. He let you into his house.
I think in the long run, yes, of course, yes.
How do you get people to trust you?
Well, that's the hard part for any photographer. We have to be nice people, really. I'm not trying to say I'm a nice guy, but it helps if you go in somewhere with a smile on your face. I mean, even that's a simple. Could be as long as it's not a false smile, an artificial smile, then you're in trouble. But no, you have to. As much as I'm not a talker, in a sense, I don't find it easy to talk to people when I'm photographing them.
But you also put people at their ease.
I try, yes. I mean, some silly joke or something unexpected, to say something unexpected. It sort of helps, breaks the ice, and in the end, it's not a problem. But there is something in photographers that we can do it. But I'm not sure what it is.
Danuta didn't mind you coming to this house full of children.
No, although she must have been fed up with all these journalists.
Because it wasn't just you, there were a lot of journalists.
No, I mean, in this case, it was just me, but sometimes there's a whole room full of journalists.
Everyone's smoking around the kitchen table.
Smoking, this is precisely it. I was often there, but she never kicked me out. With me there, she never kicked anybody out.
Her mother looks a little impatient.
Yes. But that's the wonderful thing of being a photojournalist, is you can really see up close the people who people look at in newspapers, or used to look at in newspapers, or on TV and so on. Whereas we had to be there, and that's what makes our life.
You had to know when to be there, how to get there, how to weasel your way.
Please remember that there was no internet, no mobile phones. We just had to keep our ears to the ground and see what was happening.
And also had to have a trusted network of people who.
Yes, but I trusted all the Western agencies in Warsaw, whether it was UPI.
They were on it. They knew what was going on.
Or ANSA, the Italian agency, and I had friends there who I wouldn't actually telephone because phones were tapped. So I used to go to all these places and say, "Listen, what's happening?
So you had to check in every day?
Almost, yes. And just to see, and everything worked. I mean,
also you had friends who were also photographers, and they were pretty.
Yes, it was a sort of brotherhood, really, and we all kept together and stayed together and travelled together and worked together. And we had to ship films, undeveloped films. We had to ship them to New York.
How did you get it from Warsaw?
Well, we used to ship films by air freight. Oh. We had to go to the airport. We had to get stamps from various people to get permission to send undeveloped films to New York.
Did you have to bribe anyone?
No. But it was all very well organized, and we knew all the people, so it was actually very quick to go to the airport, and we knew exactly who to talk to and so on. But that's the way we worked. But the funny thing is that those magazines are great magazines. Everything got there on time, usually. Everything worked. And we couldn't even think of we had no idea that one day we could just ship ship by computer, or that was complete magic.
Things might be easier, but the magic is gone.
Completely. I think it's true. In the old days, the days of darkrooms and so on, when you had the red light and the developer and the enlarger and the fixer and so on, and you saw the image appearing in front of your eyes in this red light. That was magic, and that was the magic of photography, really. But with the advent of digital,
no suspense.
But. No, there is. I mean, photography is magic in a way. So it's always magic, but right now it's the magic isn't there.